Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome to Find Your Wise podcast, everybody. We are so happy to be here. This is our first episode, and this is an amazing day for Yvonne and I because this is a big journey that we've been taking on, and we wanted to give thanks to all of you, first of all. I'm your co host, Indira Mosquea, leadership coach.
And I'm Yvonne Clark. As you can see my name, I am a financial and life coach. Um, just so you guys know, I am in the middle of severe weather. So if I poof, go away, or if I'm like, I gotta go, it's because there's possible tornadoes headed my way. Right now we're good. Hopefully it's not going to hit until after we're done here. But if all of a sudden I say I gotta go, I'm going to grab my dogs and run to my shelter. So you may actually meet my dogs tonight also, because when the weather starts to get bad, they pace and get nervous. So for those who don't already know Nordy, you might get to see him live. Abigail, I don't know. We'll see.
We're hoping and pray that this is not happening. But she's been watching very closely to make sure that everything is good. And the most important thing is that she's safe and also the people around the area. So we hope for that.
Yeah. And so if you see me distracted looking around, it's because I have weather monitors on both monitors here on my side. I've got different, one that's a little bit more national, one that's a little bit more local. So I am kind of keeping an eye on that.
So it's a good exciting time for start our podcast. Let's say we even thought, oh my gosh, let's see if this is going to happen. Unfortunately, since it's everything is okay so far.
It's hitting the Kansas City metro pretty hard. I am not in Kansas City metro directly, but it is headed my way. So it's just a matter of time. Hopefully by the time it gets to me, it'll just really calm down and it'll all be good. But you know how exciting, what a way to start our podcast careers. Tornado.
That's blessing. Water. Let's say that way.
Yeah. Well, and thank goodness I've got a shelter, so it's just gathering the dogs, grabbing them and getting down there. That takes a minute.
Yeah. So we wanted to tell you a little bit of our podcast. As you've been following us in social media, our podcast is Find Your Wise. And one of the main things that we wanted to cover here is that we wanted to talk about personal development, leadership, finances, and all those little bits and pieces that are important in our daily life that makes it sometimes we can not pay close attention to it, and we need some alarm or some people looking at those blind side that also are those angels that help us to continue growth. And we wanted to go in that process with you. As we mentioned before, we are not podcaster. Have we said in the trailer? No.
We're not, and you're about to find that out.
We're just two coaches that want to be able to provide and serve as much as we can. And we thought this is one of the way that we can do that and get rich to most people.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And each week it's going to be a little different. Some weeks we'll be talking about leadership, whether it's corporate or personal, that sort of thing, personal growth, lots of finance information, especially with the holidays coming up. That's something we're going to kind of hit hard, is talking about finances and how not to completely go broke and lose your mind during the holidays.
Yes.
It's kind of important to all of us, and we're here, tomorrow's Halloween already.
Yes.
So,
and another thing is that we wanted to keep it very conversational. So you will see that we're going to have people that we're going to invite, but it's always, we wanted to feel comfortable. We really want you to get to know us. So we understand that we're human, we're people, we make mistakes. We are normal people like you and I, and we just wanted to be as vulnerable as we can so we can understand who we are. And that's one of the things that we wanted to use this podcast, to be able to, at least in this episode, to get to know Yvonne Clark and Indira Mosquea a little bit, so you know who is talking with you.
I mean, this huge personal growth step for both of us also. It's one thing to talk one-on-one to a client, or even, small groups of people that you're coaching, but to know that you're going out there for the masses it's nerve-wracking. Pretty soon here we are in front of everybody. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I will start to telling you a little bit about me. I'm from Dominican Republic. Live in Dominican Republic until a few years. I'm not going to tell my age, but you can guess. I'm a married woman with 2 kids, 2 wonderful kids, and a wonderful support system in my family that has been cheering in the back. So we can make this happen. I know Yvonne has feeling the same way and the same support from her family. So I am an industry engineer as a professional. I still work in the corporate world. So that's why maybe leadership is a little bit of connected with my roots because I
Yeah,
mean it's so important not just to focus about on the leadership from the outside because the most important thing is to lead within you. And that's where the challenge is. So that's why it's like we don't sometimes said, Yvonne, we're not just leadership or financial coach, we are holistic because people
correct.
everything is important. So
Yep.
I come from a very low income family, so I have some struggles along the way. But those type of things help me to build the person that I am today and be able to pour into other people as much as I can. I moved to Canada and I stayed over there for a few years, and then I'm now living in the United States. I came for work reasons. One of the things that people always ask me, which place do you prefer? And I cannot choose because it's
But I think home is always home. There's always that
mentioned. Yeah.
draw home.
They always ask me between Canada and here because they know home is
Right.
different. Yeah. And it's
Well, some
I
people wouldn't. Some people want you to choose.
yeah. And it's I cannot choose. I think you're going to feel the most important thing is how you feel inside. That will help you to get connected and get to know people. And we're going to talk later how we get together and met.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's a
kind of,
little bit about me.
it's that whole thing. Home is where the heart is, essentially.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So you can say a little bit about you, Yvonne, if you can.
Well, my name is Yvonne Clark. As you know, I now I have 2 dogs. I do live in the Midwest, not too far from Kansas City. I grew up kind of all over. My dad's job took us a lot of different places, but mostly I grew up between Seattle and Tokyo, Japan. I love living overseas. And it's funny because just the other day I got a text from my daughter. It was a picture of her and her husband that said "Hello from Tokyo." So they are the type that just pick up and travel and go too. So it's pretty cool.
That was
Um,
funny because the same day we were talking about Tokyo and
yes,
how my son would love to go there. So it was kind
yes.
of
It was timing was great. Well, Indira and I have found that timing in our life has been crazy as we've gotten to know each other over the last year. It's our lives have actually run somewhat parallel. It's been a little weird.
yeah.
We definitely feel that God placed us in each other's paths to do whatever it is that we're meant to do by Him. So it's been pretty cool. But like she said, we are kind of multifaceted coaches. We do have our niches that we practice in, that we kind of specialize in, I guess you could say. But we both have different certifications through multiple things. We are both John Maxwell certified leadership coaches, mentors, all of that. I'm also a Dave Ramsey certified financial coach. And then I have several life coaching. We both have life coaching through Maxwell as well. And then I have a lot of little pieces that go into my life coaching. I have like a happiness coach, a forgiveness coach, and I don't necessarily practice as a happiness coach sorts of things, but I got those certifications so that I could be better and more well-rounded for anybody that I'm dealing with in their circumstances. As far as being a financial coach, I'm not the type of coach that's just going to say, "Here, let's fix a budget. Let's get your payments down." We start out that way, or whatever your financial situation is that you have. Or I do have people that come to me for life coaching, but I do integrate more life coaching in my financial coaching than people would think, because most of the time your financial situations are because of life situations. And so we work on them congruently. So that's something that's a little bit different with me. I don't fall into the belief of allowing victim mentality. We're all struggling right now, but there are ways that we can survive, but you've got to be willing to take those chances and change. And it's hard.
Yes.
It's hard. I mean, it's hard for us, like Indira, I came up when we were young, very, very poor, I guess you could say, so politically incorrect to say those things now, but, and I'm divorced. So I was raising 2 kids on my own, and that was a struggle. I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time before I got divorced. So to suddenly find yourself in that situation, taking care of 2 kids on your own after being stay-at-home was a huge learning experience. And that's kind of looking back now, that is part of the steps that got me to where I'm at. God knew what he was doing. He put me on that path, and I was willing to, go where he led. And this is where we're at right now. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it takes us.
Yeah. And one of the things that we were mentioned the other day, it was how one of the things that took me in this path of personal growth and inspiration and coaching, it was because I stayed for a few years pursuing a dream. And every time it was far, far, far. And I would say it took me like around 10 years. I wanted to move to Canada because I thought, here in Dominican, I'm doing so, but I think I can do better in another place that it's different, I would say. And it took me like 10 years because every time that I shift something changes. Something in the law change. Or now it's not industrial engineer. Or now it's not. Now you need to learn French. So every time was a change. But there was something also very important. I was not as consistent as I needed to be able to do that and to make that happen. And it's true. When you decided that you wanted to do something with passion, it's like all the angels and everything comes around.
Yes.
So I remember that after struggling, taking private classes, French, then English then French and stuff like that, my sister sat down with me. I was helping her to fix her luggage because she was moving to France. And she asked me, Indira, why is not you that is doing this luggage? Because what is stopping you? What is really holding you back that you're now going to Canada? I said, my French is not good enough. And saying that with emphasis, my French is not good enough. She said, really? You speak better French than I do. You speak better French than all my teen in my class. And look, I'm the one that is moving to Canada, to France. Why don't you go and talk to this teacher and she can prepare you for the test? I did it. Oh my gosh, it was so much money. It was more than I can handle, credit cards and everything I would use. But at that time I said, okay, take it, or you do it this time, or you don't do it. And everything along the way started that path. And in the same process, I always like studying.
Me too.
I always like learning. I'm very curious.
Yeah.
So someone introduced me to a network marketing called Amway. And while I was doing that, and surprising enough, I never sell a thing because my process was not the selling. I saw the speakers and said, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to do. I wanted to be there. And my husband told me, but you need to sell. I don't want to sell. I don't like selling. I don't like that. So, but I'm telling you all this so you can understand the connection. I was able, because I borrowed the belief of my sister. I was able to pass the test and I was able to prepare everything. And I moved to Canada. I was in the poorest situation that you could imagine, sleeping on sleeping bags and I would say airbags. And the same thing as well, going to the church so they can give you food and stuff like that. But there was one difference. I was happy.
Yes.
Because I was following a dream and I knew that was just a step. But all this preparation of listening to those speakers and reading those books prepared me for that moment. And that's what got me into this coaching and helping people, not just about leadership, but about their personal growth. As Yvonne also, I always related with the finance because I follow David Ramsey like crazy. I love all his method. So I'm always into that because I understand it is a composition of all the areas on your life.
Yes.
So that's what got us here.
And it's funny because as you're talking about, the story of, going to the Amway and seeing the speaker and you're like, that's what I want to do. It's funny because it was just a couple of weeks ago, although we have been talking now it's been over a year that and do you want me to go ahead and tell everybody how we met?
Yes.
Okay. This is a conversation that we just had like 2 weeks ago. We did not know this until about 2 weeks ago, and it's been over a year.
Yes.
So we both went. John Maxwell has an international conference, and it's called IMC, the International Maxwell Conference, twice a year. And both of us went virtually to last August. And when you go virtually, it's obviously not as good as in person, but it's still quite amazing. You get to see everything. They have this fantastic chat going for all the virtual people watching, so we can talk to each other and stuff like that. Well, after the 3 days was over, I was so pumped. I mean, you go through this crazy emotional roller coaster at a Maxwell conference because you go through the tears. It's very touching. You can relate to so many of the struggles that people have gone through. You go through the feelings because you're so elated and so pumped up and so full and ready to go. I didn't want that to end. So the last days I got on Facebook and I created a Facebook group, and it was the IMC chatters. And I let everybody know, hey, if you want to join, let's not let this end. Let's stay in touch. And so I created that group. Well, I had no idea. There was several people that joined. It's still going today. And what was it? Probably last week.
I think it was last week.
Last week, Indira had posted something on her Facebook page. Maybe it was your group. I'm not sure. It was a Facebook group. And one of the guys that's in the IMC chatters that I met, kind of talked to during IMC, commented on her. Now, I knew that Indira, I mean, like I said, we'll get to that. I knew that she was a Maxwell coach, but this is how the small world came together, because he had made a comment on her post. And I thought, how does she know him? And so we started talking last week, and I said, I noticed that this guy, I won't name him, mentioned, said something on your thing. And she's like, well, yeah. And I said, did you know him for IMC? And she had mentioned it was the IMC chatter group. And I went, I created that group. And she's like, no way. So our world we didn't realize how small our world was at that time, but how we got together is during IMC, or after IMC, we both joined mentorship. And they have an accountability group that you can join, and you just put your name. Basically, it's the virtual version of putting your name in a giant pot and somebody picking your name and saying you guys are partners. And so we got put in a group. It was 3 of us, 3 ladies, and we do have another accountability sister, and you are going to get to meet her on the 13th of November. She's not going to be on the day or the weekly podcast with us, but she is going to be a regular guest as often as we can have her because we love her.
Yes,
her name is Tammy. And so you are going to get to meet her on the 13th of November. So be sure to join us then too, so you can meet her. And we all got into this accountability group together. And so twice a month we met and just kept each other accountable in anything we were doing. It was meant to be accountable as you grow your business. But we just ended up really connecting. And so we call each other sisters. Now we're accountability sisters. And so even when we email, we're like, hey, sister. So when we talk about the other sister, it's Temi. But we did that for a year. And then a couple of months ago, we were having one of our accountability meetings, and we started talking about how we wanted to grow our businesses. And I had mentioned something about a podcast, and Indira kind of looked down. She goes, I kind of always want to do podcasts. And I said, me too. and Temi was like, well, I'll be along for the ride, kind of. Yeah. You have to understand, Temi is a very, very busy woman. I mean, she has, family, young children. She's a speaker. She travels to do speaking engagements and stuff that she's very busy. But she wants to support us and be part of this as much as she can be. And we love that. So we started 2 months ago. We just started talking about putting together this podcast. And it has gone through a lot of different iterations of what we're going to do. The biggest thing we did, and this is something that's so important when setting goals, is set an end date. Because no matter how many wonderful plans you have, and this is what we're going to do and this and that, at some point you're going to have to say, this is when it's going to happen. We only gave ourselves 2 months to do this. So when we say we are not professional podcasters and we really have no idea what we're doing, we're not kidding. I mean, we are learning this along the way. That's kind of why our tagline is grow with us. Correct. Because we are growing our businesses. We're growing very personally. I've always wanted to do podcasts because, like Indira, I come from the mortgage industry, real estate and mortgage. And during one of my first mortgage conferences, we had this amazing speaker. And I too had that same experience. I want to do what they're doing. Now, I didn't necessarily want to be on stage talking to people because I am very introverted. But I wanted to make people feel the way she was making me feel. It was just so inspiring. And that stuck with me forever until, well, here we are. But so, and the whole, when I got divorced and when she moved to the States, the whole, I was sleeping on the floor so my kids could have a bed to sleep in. It's funny, we've been meeting for a year, but all these little things have been coming out that we realize we have a very similar path that got us to where we're at. And that's why our little connection it's fantastic. We just have so much fun together. But yeah, it's been quite the journey getting here today.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the things that you mentioned is about not just fear, because that's one of the things we already talk about what got us here. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about and to see if we can resonate with anyone here is all the fears that we have to overcome to be able to be here. Yvonne just mentioned she's introvert. My experience all my life have been quality manager in most cases. So, regulations, FDA approval and stuff like that. So you have to make sure that you follow and compliant. Additional to that, I'm the oldest one. Therefore, they said you have to set the standards.
You're bossy.
For the rest of for the rest of your siblings too, because they look up to you, and you have to make sure that, because the theory of my parents is you only need to raise the first child, then the rest got kind of along the way. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's hilarious.
But they really focused on the things. So that perfection, that if there's one student that is going to pass, that's you. So there's a little pressure there. So that's one of the things that I have to work in this process. Yes. That perfectionism. And that's something that I've always, since someone, a boss that I had, look at that blind spot and reflect that light to me. That's why it's so important sometimes to be, not just have good people, mentors around you, but people also that be open and tell you
very
things.
Important.
You be also open to listen to criticism. And it's not just criticize because of you. There's always a learning lesson. There's always something that you can learn from it. So he called my attention. He asked me for a task, and I spent maybe more than he expected to. So he told me, "Show me what you have." I said, "It's not ready." No. Show me what you have. He printed and he put it on the wall and said, because he won a KPI board, put it on the board. And then he told me, "You start. Perfection, no perfection. Progress." So now every morning you stand up here, you say, "I'm going to change a comma." So you change the comma. It's better than yesterday. So that's one of the things that in my case, I've been working into that to be able to do this. Not just because it helped me to grow, but also we're able to provide a message that sometimes we stay close. And because of that, we're not able to provide those messages because of we're living sometimes in fear. So in my case, perfection was a huge thing. What about you, Yvonne? What was one of the fear that?
Well, I do deal with a little bit of the perfection because, like you, I come from a highly regulatory industry. Mortgage and real estate is very regulated. And it's one of those where you can't make mistakes because you're going to cost somebody millions of dollars. It's very scary, very pressureful. But I am viewing this, and this is where I don't know because it's not a clash, but this is where Indira and I go back and forth, is because where she's a project manager, and this is also where we just mesh so perfectly, because she's a project manager. She was, as soon as we started doing this, she set up this whole Google Sheets, and everything was in line. This is what we're gonna do, an outline, blah 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 blah. And then I took over the creative part. I was like, okay, so I'm going to start doing all these other things, the creative side, and it worked perfectly. And so I have approached this as, yes, I'm very nervous because I am an introvert, but it's weird because I'm also very much a people person. But I'm not a whoo girl. That's never been me. Where Indira is, when these cameras go off, she's back there going, yeah, it's awesome. She is our cheerleader. It's so good. But so perfection, I've worked really hard on trying to get over that. This has actually helped me get over that, because I'm always the one reminding you, let's just have fun. Let's just have fun. Business is so stressful that, the corporate life is so stressful for us, that let this be our fun part. And so we are kind of, reminding each other of those things. She keeps me structured and pulls me back in when I'm just having too much fun. And I'm like, just have some fun.
Yeah.
So for me, a big part of it is the being seen by masses. And I guess that does kind of come into the perfection, because I don't want to be seen making a mistake or looking foolish. Because I'm just, when you're in industries that don't allow that, it's hard. And luckily, I think both of us have worked for great people that have allowed us to make mistakes.
Yes.
Luckily, there's always ways to fix them. But that is something that because I started out as a career coach when I first got into coaching. And it's something that's really prevalent in corporate America, is nailing people when they make a mistake, instead of allowing people to make a mistake and learn from it and grow and get better. Now, it's one thing if you have an employee who just doesn't care and it's mistake. But there's so many times that in corporate America that people will quit a job because they're like, I screwed up so bad and my boss just won't let me live it down.
Yep.
And that's not fair. You're going to lose a lot of really good people for being human. And it's tough, so that's something that we've had to overcome. And like I said, having a good boss makes a huge difference when it comes to that.
That is correct.
So that's something that we will touch when we get more down the road and do episodes on leadership and things like that. We're definitely going to touch on things like that. And this is where you'll hear us talk about DISC from time to time, because we're both DISC certified. And if you don't know what that is, it is like it's like a personality test. Best way to put it. It's very specific, but that's the best overall way of putting it.
To help in communication and interaction between different type of personalities.
Well, and it's more than that, because it also gets you knowing yourself. Now, I think I know myself pretty well, but I have done 3 different DISC assessments through 3 different organizations. And so depending on who gives you the DISC assessment or where it comes from, it's different.
Correct.
But I am still always the same person. But one thing I found out that I really, really loved John Maxwell's version of it the best so far is because most DISC assessments will do who you are naturally and who you are like in a stressful situation like work or something like that. I think the Maxwell one is the best because it really detailed it more, I think, than anybody else. And it also worked more on...
That's my DISC assessment.
It really went into great detail as far as I did my first one, when I had first quit a corporate job that I was so stressed out at it affected my health. And I came off as a super high D and a high I, which D is let's just think D is demanding. Let's just put it that way. It's driven, but that's who I was in corporate, because I had to be. I was like, sure. And I wasn't mean, but I was very, very structured, quick decision making, all those things. But I'm also high I. I am the class clown. I am that. And so those are very, very conflicting. And so they can be great if you are somebody who is like a corporate leader and you're very good leading your teams. For me, it wasn't. I'm not naturally a high D. But you put me in a stressful situation and, let me tell you, I can take over pretty quick. So, and I found when I did the Maxwell one, I was actually pretty even keeled. And they're like, well, that's a sign of being under a lot of stress. And I'm like, no, this is the most relaxed and chill I've ever been in my life. So then I learned the other part of it. So I'm really excited for us in future episodes to also go into DISC and talk about, because it's going to be fantastic for leadership and employment situations, but it's going to be good on just every day, being able to recognize certain traits in people to allow you to communicate on their level. Because when there's communication breakdowns, it's generally because you're trying to communicate at each other on the way you communicate and not understanding how the other person communicates and receives what you're saying. Correct. That's when you learn to communicate well, is when you know what you're dealing with. And when you do DISC well, you be able to recognize certain traits pretty easily in other people, so you can kind of adjust yourself So
That is
it's really,
so
it's
correct.
such a beautiful
Yeah.
science. I love it.
I love the tool. In fact, I'm in love. I provide this not just to me, my husband and my kids
Yep.
and everybody in my house, because
Yep.
that helps us to interpret. And as you are also DC, so
I'm
kind
a
of,
high C now. Now that I've kind of changed careers, I'm a high
yeah.
C.
So I have, for example, this understandable. D, very demanding, making sure that things are in control, and by C, following processes and procedures to make sure that we follow those processes. But to Yvonne's point, there's a lot of information, not just the communication, but also how do you get to know you,
Mm-hmm.
your fears, how you can
Yes.
manage those fears,
Yes.
and also the way that you accept different communication, how you can communicate with other people, how people can communicate with you. So that is science, I would say, in personality invested. So you'll be able to have a more cohesive team. It
Yes.
could be personal and work environment, because it helps you really to connect with the people that you're
Yes.
talking to, which is
Well,
the
and
most
DISC is
important.
perfect in the corporate environment also to use when hiring people.
Yes.
Because you might have somebody who looks fantastic on paper, they have the best resume ever, but if they do not have the right personality type to fit in with your team, it's not going to work. Or you might already have people that work for you that are good at their jobs, but they're struggling all the time. They don't show up to work or something like that. Well, maybe they hate what they're doing. They're just good at it. And
Yep.
so another assessment that you can use on your teams that are already there. And you might be like, well, maybe we need to try, if you're going to start moving team members around to different positions, it's a good time to
Yes.
do a DISC assessment, because
Yes.
then you can say, okay, well, maybe you'd be better suited. You don't want to put somebody like me to be a receptionist. I can talk, but to people randomly, but it's not my favorite thing.
Yes.
I don't do small talk very well at all. I like conversation. I love conversation actually, but I don't do small talk.
Yeah.
I am not how's the weather kind of person.
Yeah.
So put me in that situation where I'm forced to make small talk all day long, I would be miserable.
So that's some of the things that you also see in when we're talking about leadership. And again, that tool is personal, helping your personal growth, communication along your family, and also in any type of environment that you communicate and you can better connect with people. Because at the end, it's not just the way that you communicate, that also you can connect and relate. That's when the magic happens, when you're having those type of conversations that are deep and profound, and you're able to really engage and make changes, and the magic happens significantly.
I love doing DISC assessments when people look at that and they're like, I thought I knew myself, but I didn't realize this. And it really opens their eyes.
Yeah.
Fun part is, what if you are the only person that does a DISC assessment on yourself, and you can sit around with your family this holiday and be like, oh, that's why I get it now. They're
Yes.
that personality type.
Yes.
Think of the leg up you'd have on everybody if you can start picking out those personality types without thinking, why are they so quiet? Are they a snob, or what a jerk? What a loudmouth jerk? And you really understand their personality better, and it'll just make so much sense to you now.
Yes. Yeah.
So it could help even personally.
Yeah. So those are the type of things as a coach that we're going to be interacting. And we wanted just to give you with this, we will give you just a slightly detail of how that will work. So one of the things that we were also talking recently, it was, for example, some of the gaps that we experience in the process of making this podcast happen. And
Only some of
the good thing is that those type of things sometimes limit us for us to be able to achieve those goals or those things that we wanted to achieve. And one of the gaps, Yvonne mentioned something that I don't know if you catch it at the beginning. In August, we have a meeting and we were discussing that we wanted to have a podcast. And I can tell you something. It was I always had that in back in my mind. But January this year was the first time that I put it on my vision board. So when I told my kids, I said that Yvonne sent one of the art, and I said, look, do you like this name? And they say, do you want to have a podcast? My older one asked me. And then the little one said, don't you see it in the vision board? so yeah. And we put a time. We say, okay, 2 months. I didn't know anything about what to do podcasting.
No,
Maybe
we had no idea.
we're not going, yeah. And we're not going to know, maybe people that are experienced are going to say, well, what the hell they're doing.
Exactly.
We are,
Yeah,
we are learning. We are learning.
we
But
are.
one thing for sure, we set the date. And another thing is that I said, that's the date. We're going to start, we're ready or not. So we start doing things to be able. So those are the type of things, the golden nuggets that we're trying to give you, because sometimes when we set goals, we put it very far away. When
Yes.
in reality, it can happen. It could happen as long as you set the time, or you
Yes.
can split it in mini goals, and that help you, because as long as you see progress, you're going to see the engagement, the excitement, and you're going to continue and try to be able. But you set the time.
Well, and I think that happens to a lot of people. They're like, I have this goal. I want to reach this goal, but I'm not going to start really working toward that goal until I do this. And it's kind of the concept of reaching goals. But what you need to do is you need to say, okay, well, I'm going to reach this like we did. Okay, we're going to start October 30th. Okay, that's what we're going to do. And so then Indira comes with this beautiful sheet. Says, okay, well, then that means by next week we have to have this done. And that's what you have to break down those goals into manageable steps. And it really, really works. You're like, okay, let's do this. And you set timetables for every little step you're going to take. So by next week we have to do this, and the week after that, and you build on it. And at first it was a struggle because we're like, I don't even know where to start. What do we do? What do we have to do? Do we start with, do we have a name? No, that's stupid. We can think that up. So it's crazy. For the first couple weeks, we're like, did you get done? No, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And pretty soon we're like, we have a month, and we're like, we have nothing done because we know what we're doing. So we dove deeper into research. We started watching other types of podcasts just to see what they're doing. And then we're like, but we don't want to be like everybody else. So, but it took little things. And there's a lot of things that we did that we didn't have to do, that we're like, man, toss it out. We're not even doing that.
Yeah.
But learning experience. And we're still, like I said, we're still learning along the way. But it really did. It was like every week we had a checkbox of saying, this is what we have to do. Then pretty soon, I think it was 3 weeks in or 2 weeks in, we're like, okay, well, we're going to start meeting several times a week now.
Yes, because
we have to make this happen.
Yes.
But that's how you reach a goal. It really is. You can't just, if you really, really want to do something, you'll make it happen. But the way to make it happen a little bit more smoothly is to break it down into those steps and then check it off as you go. And it got really exciting. The more we got done, we're like, we got so much done. And then we like, oh, we have so much more to do.
But you mentioned something important. We adjusted.
We did.
We make changes. We adjusted. We start removing things. Oh, we're not going to have that ready by the time we launch. Okay, that will be next time. Oh, we need to have this. So just to give you an idea, not the intro. How many times do we practice the trailer?
2 hours.
Yes.
We said that script
like
3
minutes.
hours.
It's like 3 minutes trailer.
I don't know. I think it's a minute 40 or something crazy.
She has to erase because she couldn't put more.
Yeah.
So,
but I have some great bloopers that one day we're going to share with our audience just to show them we did not give up. We were it was bad for a while.
And then we were laughing and we were enjoying it.
Did.
We're just telling you this because you probably resonate with part of our journey. This is the start of our journey. Mm-hmm. Really. We know there's a lot that we need to learn. There's a lot that we need to do. But we are in the process of overcoming those fears to making sure that we're doing something with the life that we have and really enjoying it. And like I'm always keeping, have fun. Yes, we're having fun. Yeah, definitely. In another gap, like we mentioned, it was the knowledge gap, like Yvonne mentioned, not just timing, knowledge as well, because they help us to be able to start doing research, understanding what we don't know. And still there are things that we don't know. And
that's when we'll have experts on.
Yes.
We will have other experts in certain areas when we do some episodes, and we'll let everybody know like a week or so ahead of time to be like, hey, catch us next week when we're talking about this with this expert, because we don't know everything, obviously.
Exactly. Yes.
But as parents, we pretend we do, right? Won't tell the kids.
Yes, but let me tell you, sometimes they ask you questions that you have to go to Google.
Right. Well, you know what? And one of the best things you can do as a human being is just say, you know what? I don't know, but I will find out. And I've done that as a coach even. I really don't know, but I'm not going to give you a wrong answer just to boost my ego. That's stupid.
And
I'll find out.
yes, and that's one of the main things that you will receive from us. It's openness,
Oh yeah.
vulnerability, because yeah, we make mistakes like any other people. Let's just say that we're not perfect, but we are having courage right now to sitting here and doing this. Really.
Very much so.
Yeah. Just today, I was talking with my friends at work, and it was fun, that part, because yeah, it's happening. That's be my like, it's happening. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And it feels great when sometimes you need to go the check mark and select those things that already in process, because that give you, sometimes we set goals that are so high, but if we do little by little, that give you that confidence. And one important thing that I learned recently at the IMC, and is that change your relationship with failure.
Yes.
Because with failure, if I said learning, when we released our trailer, I said, okay, people were giving us feedback. And I said, and I think I've been working on my relationship with failure, that I was looking that as an opportunity for improvement. Oh, I can apply that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Exactly.
And to help us grow.
Because you should anyways learn more from your mistakes than you do from successes.
Exactly.
And there's something to be said about failing forward.
Yep.
And it should, if you don't let your failures, your mistakes keep knocking you back, that's how you build resilience and you get stronger and stronger. Sometimes it's hard when there's a lot of resistance, but that doesn't mean stop. Usually that just means let's find another way.
Yes.
So, and if you don't set goals that are really lofty, then is it really a goal? You're not challenging yourself. If you're just making lateral moves the entire time, what good is it? You're not challenging yourself.
Yes. Yep. Recently this week, along that you mentioned lateral move and stuff like that. Recently, I was in a conference of Aspire conference, and because my kids, they love David Gaggans, so we went to the conference, and he said a phrase that really, for me, that was the highlight of the conference. There's always, I think you go to some places and there's so many golden nuggets and you take so many notes, but I think if you take just one thing or two things, you apply those to one, it makes significant difference in your life. So it's better than just typing many other things. Just take those things that you understand that you could apply. But in this case, he said that, so David Gagan said, as a human, we need to do an autopsy on ourselves to determine why you're dying instead of living.
Yeah.
So those that you mentioned about maybe small goals that are not stretching you, are you really maybe fulfilling those needs and those expectations that you want, and really make you grow and putting yourself out of your comfort zone?
Exactly.
This afternoon, when I was coming on my way, I was talking with my sister. You were talking with your sister too. Those the support system. And I was like, oh my gosh, I feel anxious. Oh, I think it's like I'm going to an interview or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I say, but you know what? I like the feeling because I'm doing something that I don't do every day. So it's something that is helping me stretch. That's the phrase, stretch. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you feel alive a little bit, huh?
Yeah.
As I look over toward the tornado line here.
Yeah. It's everything fine? It's everything
No,
okay?
everything's fine right now. They're actually showing Oklahoma looks like it's having more issues right now than us. But what they're concerned about is a little bit later tonight, that the line that's up and the line that's down here in Oklahoma and stuff, when they merge tonight, that's when they're a little bit. I mean, they've had, I think there's 5 tornado watches, 1 warning, stuff like that. But they're more concerned when those storm mesh.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm just hoping that it starts to cool down more and that it dissipates a little bit throughout the night, but it still looks like we're going to get hit.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you live in the Midwest.
I know that's a different experience for me. Definitely. I'm getting used to.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. I can tell you recently I have a little experience with it. And oh my gosh, it was not working.
You didn't even know it was happening though.
No, that's the thing. I didn't know what's happening. It happened
That's
twice.
dangerous.
One of the alarm, they sound the alarm, and I didn't know it was an alarm for tornado. So I was right in my living room, close to the glass window. So I didn't know. Then my friend called me. Hey, after it passed, he said, "Hey, did you hear the alarm? Everything okay there?" I said, "What was that alarm for?" I said, "That's tornado alarm." I said, "Oh my gosh!" Because remember, I'm coming from Dominican. There's no tornado. There's, how do you call the cyclones? Uh, Storms,
Like
like
hurricanes.
hurricanes.
Mhm.
Exactly. Those ones, you know when there's happening, so you
Yeah.
get ready. Yeah. So for me, this is learning as well.
Yeah.
But then another day, I was with the kids and we were driving. Oh my gosh, it was so windy. It was ice and everything. And I was praying that my kid told me, "Oh my God, mommy, if Eminem will hear you, he will be jealous of you. You were rapping. You were rapping, praying."
Well, it's like that day that you messaged me and everything was in supersonic Spanish. I'm like, whoa. And then you stop in the middle of the message and you're like, was I speaking Spanish? Yes, you were. I loved it. It was
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's funny. But yeah, those are the type of things that really, it's difficult. But sometimes it shows you that you're alive and you need to take care of yourself and you need to take care of the people around you. So it gives it some additional meaning to life because it really put me to reflect.
Yeah.
Go
Well, I mean,
deeper.
and it's true what they always say, you know, people at the end of their lives, they're not laying in their bed saying, I wish I would, or, you know, they're saying, I wish I would have done more things, you know, not spent time at work, not these things. They want to feel, people want to feel alive. Not that I want to be in Tornado Alley for the rest of my life, but,
Yeah.
you get it. As far as challenging yourself, you
Maybe
know,
we're a little bit tragic, too far away.
yeah. So unfortunately, it's just one of the things of living, like I said, in the Midwest. It's,
Yeah.
adapt. You adapt.
Yes. We were even thinking today if we were going to really have the podcast or how that happened. Yeah.
That's why I was like, okay, if I have to go, I'll say I got to go, and I'll leave the podcast, and then I'll just have you send me the link, and I'll be down in my shelter with my little lantern, going, hey, what an exciting way to start our podcast journey, huh?
Yeah.
That'd have been
But
so
hopefully-
goofy.
Yeah, but hopefully none of those things happening.
Nah.
So now that you're here today, Yvonne, how does it feel? It's as crazy as difficult because sometimes we make our head and we make it big, and the reality sometimes is not as bad as our imagination. So I would like to know, now that we're experiencing this, how do you feel since we compared the first time?
It feels like the natural progression of what we should be doing. And I mean, you and I meet several times a week anyways, and have our conversations. And so it does feel pretty natural and normal. Now, when we get to the point where we have a lot of people watching and people are joining us in chat, I think that's going to be a little nerve-wracking, but it's also going to be really, really fun because the entire purpose of doing this is to interact with people, help people as much as possible, to reach so many people. So,
Yeah.
how are you feeling about it all?
Yeah.
I know we were messaging each other today. How are you feeling? I'm nervous.
Yes, I think I'm very excited. I love this, really.
Me too.
I understand that it's like, I don't know who said, it's a progressive realization of your dreams. It's a progress. And that was the word that I chose this year, progress, not
Yeah.
perfection. So I can work with that.
Mhm.
And that's the type of things that I understand. I feel I enjoy it very much,
I am
really.
too.
Yeah, and I know once, like you mentioned, once we start interacting with people, maybe we're going to add additional sugar to the cocktail. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. One thing that also we wanted to mention that along the way, we wanted to, when we start having more followers and stuff like that, inviting people, not just to tell us what they want us to talk about, what are the issues that we're facing, but also inviting to be coached live their like for a specific topic. And one thing that I think it's important to mention, I don't know if you even can help us that, understand that there's a difference between therapy and coaching. So
100%.
yes.
Yes, therapy, you're going to be working on things from your past. They're going to make childhood dramas, whatever those things happen to be, where a coach is going to take you where you're at right now, the situation that you're in, and we're going to move you forward. We're not pulling you from your past to get to where you need to be. We're going to start where you're at. And they actually work very well together. It's not like you have to choose one or the other. They can work very well together, but just don't look at hiring a coach thinking that you're going to talk about things from your past that, maybe things happen in your past that cause you to be where you're at now that you need coaching for. That's fine.
Yes.
But we're not going to have therapy sessions where we're talking about things that happened to you in your childhood and help you deal with those things. That's what a good therapist is for. So,
Correct. Yeah.
And we're having
like,
to move on from all that stuff.
Yes. And one of the things that, for example, as Yvonne was mentioning, the coach, imagine coach is similar to sport. The coach is not just a cheerleader. The coach is the one that is going to help you strive. The coaches that want to, at least the type of coaches that we are, we wanted to make you successful.
Absolutely.
And success is what you understand that is success, not necessarily one thing or the other. And that's the important thing. You put your limits. You understand what you want to go, what you want to do, where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And we help you throughout the process to develop in the different areas of your life coaching, for example.
Yep.
And those are very interconnected along each other. And that would help you to have accountability. For example, like Yvonne mentioned, it's a huge difference, our business that we have a year ago than it is today. We have many presence in social media and different things in a lot of the companies that we're reaching because of that accountability that we had together. And we are coaches, but also we had our coaches that help us continue growing and become better, because you need to live what you preach, obviously, because we understand the value of that and how this is helping us to grow as well.
Yeah, I definitely think that I'm suspect of any coach who is unwilling to hire another coach. I mean, everybody has their niche, but leadership coaches, life coaches, financial coaches, all of that, we're not marketers. We had no idea how to market ourselves and do things. We hired business coaches, so there's a coach for pretty much everything. Honestly, I've been really surprised to find out some of the subjects that people coach on. I was like, I had no idea, but everybody needs help somewhere in their life situation. And so that's why it's important to find a coach that can help you.
Yeah.
And it's, one reason I think, or some of the reasons that we chose the niches that we're in, it's because it's what we've lived.
Yes.
I've been in leadership, and I've dealt with leadership that I wished would have taken leadership classes. So that's what led me to getting some leadership certifications. Oops, sorry. And the financial stuff, obviously coming from a poor lifestyle and then being divorced and stuff like that, and working my way up and knowing what it's like to make money, and then realizing that that's not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, it's nice. It's comfortable. I'm not going to lie, but I had poor money habits because I didn't know what to do with it. And so I had to get very educated. And so it's not just people that are struggling financially that need a financial coach. I love working with solopreneurs and other entrepreneurs so that I can help them establish a great business foundation and then prepare themselves for growth. And so I love new beginnings. Let's put it that way. I love working with people who are new couples. They're blending in their finances and they're always fighting because they're like, they don't agree how to spend money. They have different spending habits.
Right. Yeah.
People that are newly single, they came from 2 incomes. Now they're just themselves. What do I do with myself? Young people. Oh, I love working with young people who are just looking at getting their first jobs. I love helping them establish a great financial foundation, mindset, habits, so that they hopefully will not get into those other issues.
Correct.
I deal with a lot of people with spending issues, and we do exercises and all different things to work on getting that under control too. But like I said, I do a lot of life coaching along with the financial coaching, if not separate. I do life coaching separately as well, but a lot of my financial coaching is life coaching because, like I said, most of the time we're in a situation that we have to deal with the life situation that got us into the financial situation we're in. And also sometimes it's just setting a mindset. Like if you're doing fine financially, but you have other goals, and You just need some ideas on how to reach those goals faster, more efficiently, or get in that mindset and prepare for growth. I love talking about it because it gets me so excited. I mean, I am that person. I was a cheerleader in high school, so I'm one of those people who literally loves to cheer people on. The first leadership position that I ever got, and I took my team into a huddle and I was telling them, who I am, what I do, as far as my position. And I said, I want to see if your goal is to surpass me and be my boss one day, I want to help you reach that.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're crazy. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This position that I have right here, I don't want to go further in this company. That's not what I want to do. But I want you to get there if that's what you want. And that's how I feel. I get super excited to help people reach their goals.
Yeah. And to the same thing, for example, you mentioned something very important. It is that the relationship between the financial aspect and your personal habits and the way that people live. And to the
view
point,
money matters.
yes. I got into Dave Ramsey when you were talking about that you were doing the financial peace university. I said, I can believe you. I did that, and so you can understand how I get to Dave Ramsey. One day I called my best friend and asked him, how do you do it? How do you do it? And she said, buy this book, read it, implement it, and then we talk. So I bought the whole package of the Financial Peace University. To give you an idea, since I started working, I used to write everything on my expenses and everything, but I didn't see any progress.
Yeah.
And I was not savvy enough maybe to ask for help until I was able to ask for help. I can tell you, my finances changed. I drastically changed. Then I continue to do all the courses and all the preparation from Dave Ramsey. I took, for example, insurance licensing, stuff like that, to be able to help people, because it's always incompetent. Because it's not just how you manage your money, it's your financial blueprint, how you decided how you spend. Sometimes it's because emotional spending. There's so many things that we found in the process. So we're able to help those people that are in that situation. So at the end, everything is start and finish within you.
Absolutely.
It could be money, it could be leadership, it could be whatever. It's you decided to make a change or look for help. So someone that can help you in that process. And that's where we kind of get into the people's life, to be able to not just cheerleader, but also to help them along the way in that process. Because it's not, we experience those type of things. We experience living with a good financial situation, but also having lack of money,
finances.
Yes. And give you a different perspective, completely different perspective.
It really does.
But having that experience and also be in the corporate world, that also help us to be able to not just go in business, personal, emotional, all encompassed. So we think we can bring a lot to you. And if there's things that you understand that also we can help more, we're really open to that. So
absolutely,
yeah.
Yeah, for those who watch this, whether it's anybody watching live or if people start watching it on the replay and stuff like that, if you find that there's certain subjects that you would love for us to talk about, let us know. You can put it in the chat, or you can email us at, findyourwisepodcast@gmail.com. Just send us an email and say, hey, I would love if you guys would, do an episode on this or just talk about it during an episode. We're really happy to listen to suggestions and actually see what the people we're talking to want and need. That's the whole point of doing this, is to help people.
And to along those lines, we also have our Facebook group, which we're trying to grow. So there we're going to have a more direct engagement to publish a lot of information, tips, and things that can help you in that process of growth. As we said, our slogan is grow with us. So it's not for you just to grow. We're going to grow together. That's something that we're going to do together. So it's Facebook group, Find Your Wise Podcast. So you can find it in any social media as that Find Your Wise Podcast. Yes.
But we would really love for people to join the Facebook group, because we actually want to live stream to the Facebook group, but Meta has a rule that you cannot until you have had that group for at least 60 days and a minimum of 100 people. So we need to build up the people there so we can stream directly to Facebook. But something else we really want to do on the Facebook group that you're not going to get on YouTube or something else is direct interaction, because there are going to be times as we grow an audience that we're going to get on there. We might do some quick little live streams, some quick questions and answers. We'll put other content out there. So that it's definitely going to be more interactive on Facebook. So we just want to let you know that too. But we are in most any social media. Some we will get the recorded podcasts out because we can't live stream to some, because there are some restrictions, like I said, as far as longevity and the number of people you have following. But we are going to grow, of course. It's just going to be a matter of time. So YouTube is probably the best place to find us right now live. Where else? We X, Rumble, Twitch, Instagram. At least we're hoping. That's what our streaming service is saying that we're going to. So hopefully we are going to all of those places right now. But we will put recordings out on Spotify also. And we're thinking about probably LinkedIn, is because a lot of this is going to be business oriented. So eventually we'll go on LinkedIn as well. Or our personal Facebook pages.
Yeah. But at least in this time, we really wanted to thank you that you are here with us. We're going to be every Wednesday live. And the idea is that also the streaming service that we can have chat and interaction. So that will help us also communicate even where we're here. So we can see your comments, your reactions, and we can able to pour into you if it needs to be. So we'll be every Wednesday at 8 p.m. live. And then we're going to provide the streaming services for other social media platforms as well. So you can find us.
Yep. So what are we doing this week?
So next week we're going to be preparing about for the holidays. So, it's already November. Yes,
I know.
Tomorrow is Halloween and then it's November. So we're going to talk about a little bit of preparation, and we wanted to do it earlier instead of going deep over there, because it helps you to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Talking about health, finances, relationships, communications. Getting together with families. Some people, for example, not necessarily are getting along. So we're going to try to provide some tips. And if there's anything that you additionally would like to cover, please let us know. And we will try to cover those type of things as well.
Absolutely. So is there anything else we want to talk about tonight? Are we going to wrap up our first little round here at our podcast?
Yes, we're going to wrap up. I'm really happy. And at least the tornado hasn't come yet.
Yep.
That's good.
It's still coming our way. There's 5 tornado watches, 9 severe thunderstorm warnings, 6 special weather statements, and 12 mesoscale discussions going on right now. So there's some activity out there, but right now we're safe. Hopefully we'll continue to stay safe. Like I said, right now it looks like Oklahoma is having the worst situation. And I am in Missouri. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we're really happy to have you here. Yes. We're so happy that we started this journey and we wanted to do it with you. So
thank you so much for joining us on our very first podcast, bearing with us, enjoying. Hopefully you laughed with us as well. There's so much more to come and you're only going to get better. It's the challenge and the growth. So also, please don't forget to like and subscribe and share with everybody. Leave comments whenever you can. We'd really appreciate it because we want to grow. We want our algorithm to catch on and really get out there so we can touch a lot of people.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that we were able to do this. Yeah. Have a great evening, everyone.
See you next week.
See you next week.